2022 meeting of the West Richland City Council to order at 6 p.m. Before we get started, I'll ask Stephanie to read the virtual meeting ground rules and then call the roll, please.
All right, thank you. All right, please make sure the name shown at the bottom of your video view is the name you would like the Mayor Pro Tem to use. You can change this by right-clicking on the three dots in the upper corner of your video view and clicking Rename. If you have an unstable internet connection, please also connect through the phone. That will allow you to continue to participate even if you lose internet connection. If you call in after you have joined on video, click on the arrow between mute and video, and there is a button for switch to phone audio. Clicking this button provides a participant ID.
The speaker is not working. Is there something I can do?
Mute May. Please call in with that ID as then your phone is associated with your video. We will mute everyone until a designated comment period. And when the chair asks for public comments, if you raise your virtual hand, he will call on you and you will be unmuted. To virtually raise your hand, click on participants and then click on raise hand. If you are participating by phone only, press *9 to raise your hand. All right, now roll call. Richard Bloom.
Here.
Fred Brink.
Here.
David Fetto.
Here.
Kate Moran. You should be able to unmute yourself.
There we go. Present.
John Smart.
Here.
And Ken Stoker is traveling, as is Mayor Brent Gary. And I will note when May is able to rejoin us.
All right. Thank you very much, Stephanie. Council, may I have a motion to excuse Mayor Gary and Councilmember Stoker?
I move to excuse Mayor Gary and Councilmember Stoker.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Smart, would you kindly lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
My pleasure. Want me to do that one again? Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, I was muted the first time. I went through the whole thing until I saw the the little sign flash up on the screen.
Yeah, that's
To only
that's
have
fine. Thank you for saying it again, though, John.
Yeah.
Only one more meeting,
One
John.
more. Yep.
All right, Council, you have the agenda before you. May I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Council, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. We have two presentations this evening. The first presentation is going to be in regard to the Red Mountain. Joining us tonight, Mr. Van Winkle, the floor is yours, please.
Well, good evening and thank you very much. I hope you can all hear me, but I'd like to open it with a huge thank you. Red Mountain Event Center sits before you tonight with a huge thank you for the opportunity that you presented us a year ago. And with that, we always alluded to an update. So we're nearly 12 months in. We're actually 11 months in from the date we signed on June 1st. and we'd like to give you kind of quick updates. So first of all, I feel honored to present in front of one of my favorite people, Mike Novakovich. Michael is with the Visit Tri-Cities office, and he's going to follow up with some key economic development information. And then two on your screen, you're going to see one that says Lacey. And just know, Lacey, you might not hear too much from her, but she is the machine, the human that makes all this work. So thank you. Thank you, Michael. I'm honored. And Lacey, thanks for all you do. So truly, when I say this, this is our entire group. We say thank you to the city of West Richland and specifically the council for the opportunity that you gave us a year ago. Just reminder, as we get into this, this is year one. We haven't even finished year one. This is a 5-year to 10-year project. We're really, really pleased with your support, your trust that you gave us. I think we've come a long way. We are not anywhere near started. We're going to spend a couple minutes. We're going to show a video. If Stephanie, I understand if you could roll about a 2-minute video, and then I'd like to get into just some quick data points and then open it up for questions. So I'm prepared to run the video. Gives you kind of feel for what we're doing out there. All right, you can go to the first slide, and it's just an agenda. If you maybe go to the third slide, then from just a reminder, I think what that's all about, and thank you, Lacey, you really bring the emotion out, we can go to the next slide. The whole idea here, this isn't just a racetrack, right? We talked about it briefly. Everything in that video is something we are either at the desk, the table talking to a vendor about, or it's already scheduled. So it's very exciting. It's not just a racetrack. We're going to use the passion. I told you before, we're going to use the passion of racing to get all this volunteer labor and all these things donated to get this thing back up into something we can rent out on a daily, weekly basis. And once it's there, you're going to see a lot of other things. So reminder, Red Mountain Event Center is a nonprofit. We don't walk away with any money from this thing. All of the funds go right back into the facility. So you get a lease payment from us that goes to your parks project or division. But all of the money, anything that Red Mountain makes goes 100% back into the facility. We're going to get into that a little bit more. So next slide. Economic growth. This is what I love the best. Next slide too as well. It's super exciting because I think we discussed this earlier. This facility is kind of like an airport or Toyota Center. It's not necessarily designed to make itself any money. It is an economic development sprinkler. So anything within 5 to 10 miles from this facility, it's just going to sit there and rain down dollars on it. So the Fall Classic, that's the one we took a real big risk on last fall, and it was a huge success. 3-4 day event. We had up to 5,000 people a day. It generated about $300,000 in economic development dollars to the Tri-Cities. It was streamed live around the world. We've had other shows that you may not hear about, but they are opening the gate. They are paying rent. DTP Car Show, they've had 2 or 3 of those events out there. Their last one had 1,000 attendees just last 2 weeks ago. And of course, the San Jose Sports Car Club is still out there. So then this spring, you may have heard we did another big race out there, and very similar in that it was televised internationally, right? Another DTP Truck Wars was out here a week or so ago, and San Jose, but it just keeps coming. So growth impact events for 2022, we're very excited to say we're stealing 2 events, right? We're being the rehome of 2 events. Cool Desert Nights and Hogs and Dogs are coming to Tri-City Red Mountain Event Center. We're developing what we're going to call Speed Fest. And Speed Fest, we'd like to develop that into a week-long, multi kind of dimensional thing. You'll see things added to that week over time. July 3rd and 4th, there's Thunder on the Mountain. That's fireworks. Huge attendance for this thing. I think the Tri-Cities is dying. I have insight that says we may be the only 4th of July outdoors, at least of this caliber. In the Tri-Cities, we'll have that on the 3rd and 4th. That's 2 nights. Then August 6th and 7th will be Night of Thrills, and that's just what it is. It's quite an event. And then the same Fall Classic will come back this October. So next slide. Media. One of the things is we can have events out there, and if they don't do anything for this community, they were kind of just, they just kind of pass through. But within the 200 some odd days since we had our first event on October of last year, international, national, regional coverage. And I don't know if you noticed it, but I've been around that facility and other events in this community for about 45 years. And we had the attention of all media. During that October race and our race in April, the media is out for Media Day on Friday. They've never been to Tri-City Raceways, in my opinion. We used to, try to bribe them to come there, but they're there in mass. They've covered us. They had pre-stories going into the week, and then on Monday they're following us with following up with other stories about how the event went. Literally again, we're using the passion for racing, but I think there was teams from over 12 states here this last week, in the 1st of April. Facebook, Instagram, several 100,000 touches and clicks. Website traffic is just off the charts. Radio coverage, regional publications. West Richland, I'm not going to beat up on anybody here, but I just don't know of anything that we've done in the past for West Richland that's got this kind of attention. And we're just getting started. We're going to be waving the flag for West Richland as we move forward. So next slide, really exciting for us to be parts of that. This is just a joke. When I say Lacey does the homework here, this is her game. She can take a message and turn it in, polish it up and send it out there and get several tens of thousands of people to respond to it, and sometimes 100,000 people. So great job, Lacey. That's just to give you an idea that we are good at this and we're not going to quit. Next page. Next slide. Thanks, Stephanie. You're doing awesome. capital improvements. So I'll just draw your attention. There's two photos there. And the one on the left, if you hadn't been out there, when you bought that facility here a couple of years ago, that's what we took over on June 1st, was a weed-ridden, pretty much mowed to the ground facility. The one on the right is as of about, I don't know, just a couple months ago. But we're not done, but we're getting there. We're just getting started. So land excavating, landscaping, fencing, and not just typical fencing. This is fence that will catch a race car going 120 miles an hour. Grandstands, so far hard money, close to 80,000 sitting on the ground. It's going to be built, but twice that is what it's going to take to move forward. Barriers, equal blocks, electrical, just getting started there. Plumbing, bathrooms, concession stands, it goes on and on. If you add all that up, we've already probably accomplished maybe $1 million in improvement to your asset, to your facility. So next slide. Here's probably the part that is immeasurable and we think is real important is community involvement. We can easily put the facility out there and get people to come, but I think the big win is when we weave West Richland into this bigger community. So volunteers without question, and I can't even get started, but I think right in the center of that screen is a great idea. If you don't know who Clean Sweep is, do your homework on them. These are people from incarceration to inspiration. There's a group of maybe 50 to 100 people that are just out moving rocks all over this Tri-Cities every day. They're trying to do something to give back. We weave them into our events, and they not only help us do parking and that stuff, but we pay them then to come back and clean up the facility afterwards on Monday. But volunteers are what makes this thing work. We have, we're all natives pretty much. And so we try to do business with people who are, closest first. That will always be our goal. West Richland Chamber of Commerce, awesome, thank you. May Hayes and her team there. More to come. Our first call is always going to be to somebody that's closest to us, and then we'll work for our way out from there. So next slide. And then I can't forget about our new neighbors just to the north there. It's never a bad thing to have West Richland City Police be your neighbors. I think that we're building a bigger gate between them and us so that we can share that facility. But the schedules to the left, and I think you're going to see, maybe 18 to 20 event days there. This outdoor facility is probably set up to really use it. It's 52 weeks in a year based on weather. There's easily 100 or 200 event days there that can be filled. So again, we're just scratching the surface on what this thing can do. But if you go down that, you're going to see the West Richland Police Department's using it for training. There's the Apple Cups, the races that we do. There's Cool Desert Nights. There's a statewide, a Northwest Porsche clubs coming in this fall. So it's just very varied on who we've talked to so far. And then in the middle at the bottom there, these are the people we're talking to. There's a drone air show. We're really trying to do something that will set Red Mountain Event Center and West Richland aside in the state. And so if you can imagine 300 drones working together and they're all lit at night in a visual air show, we'd like to incorporate that into some event out there. We're looking for the right event. We're looking for the right group, but a drone air show, which I'm sure has not taken place in Eastern Washington. We'd like to be the first place to do that. But concerts, wine fests, monster trucks are coming this summer. They're coming. There'll be a 2-night event out there. 5K run, walks, winter wonderlands. It goes on and on. Next slide. So we're excited. We hope you are. We thank you for the opportunity. We're open for any comments, questions. I would say this, we find the city of West Richland, so council, mayor, employees, highly functioning. By that I mean, when we need an answer, we get it. When we need guidance, we get it. We're very, very thankful for the opportunity. How can I help? Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Van Winkle, for the very informative presentation and the benefits to our city. Council, do you have any questions to present?
I just want to say, Eric, I was out there with you, toured it last year, went out there in October for the first race and then back in April. And I got to tell you, the job that your crew did, just not only clean the facility up, but the organization from October to April is I mean, it's phenomenal. Just the way that organization was run and how the races were run. One point on your slide you didn't mention that was listed there was that for Apple Cup, we sold out all the hotels in Richland. So I was sitting next to VJ at the Visit Tri-States board meeting, whispered in his ear about we need a hotel in West Richland. Mike, I challenge you to do the same so that we sell out the hotel in West Richland before we sell out the hotels in Richland. But thank you, guys are doing a great job. I really appreciate everything you did and what your team has done. Lacey, thank you.
I'll jump back in here and say, we took on a pride and opportunity. It was the right thing to do in October to take an event that was abandoned by Yakima. And man, it was a handful for us. We're all, pretty capable. But what we learned from that event and what we put on in April, I think really demonstrates Lacey's leadership and what this team's all about. Thank you to City West Richland. It was like a dream this year compared to last fall. So thanks, Dave.
All right, Eric, I see May Hayes has a question. Councilmember Hayes.
Hi there. I just want to say congratulations to Eric and Lacey. It's been a joy with the chamber being involved with you guys out there and everything that's coming and how it's just exploding our community. And we've needed something like this for so long. And so we're very grateful through the chamber. Myself, I'm very grateful what it's bringing to the community and sitting on city council and being part of this. So without the two of you, this wouldn't have happened. And I'm so grateful you're part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hayes. Well, thank you once again, Eric, for the time and effort that you're putting into this really great initiative for the city. I personally have been out there for several events and truly appreciate the work you and your team have done. So thank you. I will now turn to our next speaker. We have Mr. Michael Novakovich, who's going to talk to us about Visit Tri-Cities. Michael, it's all yours.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, truly appreciate the opportunity this evening to present to you our kind of a year in review. It's our annual report and our 2022 work plan. There we go. I see I've got the power here. You should be seeing my screen now. So, we had a banner year in spite of this pandemic this last year, and hopefully I can weave some of the content that my friend Eric Van Winkle there was sharing, because these are the types of things that allow us to drive some incredible impact that every single one of our Tri-Cityans feels. So from Prosser to Pasco, certainly West Richland, Benton City, and in between, everybody feels the touch of tourism. We'll talk about what that looks like in a second. So it will be the 2021 State of the Tourism Industry, and the work plans, it gets way down in the weeds. So I'll give you a high level look, but as always, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So big business tourism it was about $500 million last year, $489 million that walked into our community in the pockets of visitors as they spent money staying in our hotels. Love to have one, by the way, in West Richland. They spent money going out, enjoying our restaurants, purchasing our retail, taking our attractions, pumping gas, buying groceries, drinking a lot of wine. And with this growing craft brew scene, I think that's a contributing factor. All of that visitor spending supported about almost 5,000 jobs in our community and drove over $50 million in state and local tax revenue, which is pretty cool stuff. As those taxes help to fund police and fire and schools and teachers, the maintenance of our roads, beautifications of our parks, and so much more, not to mention it lowers your and my tax burden, our household tax burden, by about $500 per household. So not a bad deal. I want to rewind a bit though and tell you where we came from. 2019 was our best year ever in tourism everywhere, not only for Visit Tri-Cities, but in industry. And then the pandemic really took the wind out of our sails. 2020, we had a 30% downturn in the Tri-Cities. So we went from real close to $500 million to about $350 million in visitor spending. Still a big number, but $150 million hit's pretty significant. We fared better than many communities across the nation. The average is about a 42% downturn. In Washington State, we had some communities that were down 50%. So Tri-Cities did relatively well comparatively, but it's so great to see how strong we came back this last year 2019 was $491 million, and last year we were at $489 million. So significant return of the tourism economy. And of course, it happens on the backs of events like those that Eric was sharing that happen out at the Red Mountain Event Center. Just want to show a little picture as we look at hotel guest rooms sold. If you look over at the far right, you'll see that when we look at the increases we saw in 2021, we popped up about 46% over the prior year, which we were coming from a significant deficit. I would love to tell you we just celebrate those wins, but that was a pretty deep hole that we're in. But things are looking strong. When you look at the hotel motel tax collections, I would encourage you to look at 19, 20, 21. If you go over to the far right, you can see in 19 hotel motel taxes collected was over about $1.5 million. 2020, it was more than cut in half. So this wasn't purely visitor volume, but one of the things that our hoteliers had to do, Eric mentioned VJ, is they weren't able to charge the same rate for their hotel rooms. So the rate that they charged, the average daily rate dropped significantly. So of course it generated less taxes. But you can see in 2021, again, significant rebound, and we are primed to have an exceptional year here in 2022. But we're not completely out of the woods. So when we talk about the business of tourism and what Visit Tri-Cities does, we have our leisure visitation, which we'll jump into in a moment, and that's really where we're building back the tourism economy. Then we have what we call group business. So this is meetings, conventions, and sporting events. So we bring in delegations for meetings and conventions. We have sports teams that come in for tournaments. Our sales teams at Visit Tri-Cities work with decision makers across the US. So our teams literally fly out, meet with these decision makers, and work to bring that business back home. And we sell 1 to 5 years into the future. So we literally are selling futures. So the work that we're doing today is going to pay dividends downstream. Well, the pandemic was a pretty interesting situation, and we'll talk about some tools we utilize so we could keep feeding that machine and selling into the future. If you look at the last bullet on the screen, you can see that we have $24.3 million in future business. So these are events that are already on our books. So sports did really well last year. We still had restrictions in place as we headed into spring, but the moment they lifted in Washington State and we could put teams on the field, it was game on. And we had a great year with sports. Not quite 2019, but it was really strong. Meetings and conventions, on the other hand, suffered. And when we hear from our industry analysts, the expectation is that the tourism economy is not going to fully recover until 2024. And it isn't leisure travel. The expectation is we're going to beat our numbers from 2019 this year. We're going to have a stronger year with leisure travel in the Tri-Cities and across industry. Sports, we're expecting to be exceptional. It's anything that has to do with business travel. So the independent business traveler, we're figuring out that we can do some things via technology like this. Budgets, of course, for a lot of organizations were seriously hampered. And early on, there was a lot of health concerns. So meetings and conventions, full return in 2024. Team's gotten pretty innovative and creative. I can tell you we're seeing activity right now that was unexpected. We have a lot of RFP generation, but we're actually booking business in the year for the year. We're booking events into third and fourth quarter of this year, which doesn't happen. That's just not the way our business works, but people are excited to come back together and gather. And we've got the availability as we're building back this segment of our business. So we have events that are happening around town that we're really excited about. So some of the things that we do, Eric had a great list of the media outreach, the publications that are writing about events that are happening there at the Red Mountain Event Center. That's a big piece of what we do at Visit Tri-Cities. Our marketing department works with travel writers across the US. We bring them to our community for experiences, curated experiences, depending on what their interests are. And they write about us in publications like Martha Stewart Living, CNN Travel, USA Today, Sunset Magazine, and others. So you can see last year we had 10 travel writers in town. Last year was, if you remember it, was a roller coaster ride as we were just rolling with the waves of the pandemic. So it was hard to get people in. A good year for us is 20 travel writers. I'm going to tell you about an event that we just hosted that rips the lid off of that 20 travel writers in a year experience. But we do get great outcomes. You can see those are some pretty punchy numbers. If you don't look at this regularly, they look like insane numbers, but the amount of eyeballs that we get in front of content related to Tri-Cities is pretty strong. We also use traditional marketing channels. I'll talk about the digital and social media here in just a second, but broadcast media, we still do radio and TV, not as much as we used to, because now we do streaming content, streaming radio, streaming TV. We do print, but not nearly as much as we used to, but there are key publications that we appear in. But digital and social is strong. We have strong followings. We do paid social media advertising. On the digital forefront, we do a lot of video production. We do this in-house, YouTube video pre-roll. We use it with what's called digital display advertising. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. If you're not familiar with the term, we use retargeting. So if you happen to be shopping your favorite online store or looking something up, and the next thing you know, you see related ads appearing everywhere you go. That's part of what we use in terms of tools and tactics. We also launched a new website this last year. So all of our marketing endeavors feed back into our website, and it's a sales funnel of sorts, and it allows us to capture those visitors, pique their interest, and then have them come to the Tri-Cities for a visit. So we did a complete rebuild of our website last year. It has a ton of really cool technology in there. Of course, you can find things to do, places to go, places to eat, places to enjoy those craft beverages, and certainly events happening on our website. Our calendar of events is a great place to find those things. You can create an itinerary, you can book a room. We have what's called SkyNav. It's a 360-degree tour of the Tri-Cities. That image that's in the center in the background is what SkyNav looks like. And I encourage you to go take this thing for a tour. You start out with these 360-degree views via drone in the air, and then you'll see waypoints around town, and you can click on these beacons. The one that's out in the distance there past the river is actually Red Mountain. If you click out to it, you'll fly out to Red Mountain. You'll be above the wineries at Red Mountain, and maybe you see hedges. You can click it. You can go inside, tour hedges. It might launch a video. There might be other information available. We have different businesses around town that are investing in that, and we just keep growing this tour. I mentioned that our team had done some innovative things so we could bring that business home, the group business, when travel was locked down. People were not getting on planes. Normally what my team does is they'll bring in these decision makers from across the US for what we call site visits. So they come in and they take a look at our meeting infrastructure, our sports infrastructure, our hotels, and then they get a sense of the community. Is this a great place to host an event? Well, without people traveling, we wanted to make sure that we were feeding that funnel that was going to bring us business years down the road. So we went out and we bought a 360-degree camera, and we shot our meetings infrastructure, our sports infrastructure, and our hotels, loaded it up on a platform called Kula, and we took the Tri-Cities to these decision makers so they could see the assets that they needed to see, so we can convert a sale and bring that business here. We have a lot of other digital products we launched. I'm happy to answer questions about them, but rather than running through the laundry list, I will tell you about Band Wango. It is a digital pass that exists on your phone. Oh, you can't see my phone. There it is. But you download these on our website. We have free passes, a lot of activities and discounts. We just launched a wine pass. It's a paid pass. So not only will these visitors be able to go into the wineries, receive a discount, and the tills will be ringing, but on the sale of those passes, our wineries will benefit from it as well. So super, super cool technology. Of course, we do print publications as well. Our premier publication just came out about 2 weeks ago. It's our brand new visitor guide. We're really excited about it. We have new people writing content for us, so fresh perspective, new imagery, and we created more of a lifestyle magazine than the publication we previously had, which was beautiful, but part of it served as a directory listings, and we've completely removed that and really focused on the storytelling. This is our 2022 work plan, and I can only imagine that you are all dying for me to go through this line item by line item. Oh, May's in for it. Well, if this is what we want to do, let's go there, friends, because I've got all night. No, I won't bore you with that level of detail. But what I will tell you is it really does get down in the weeds. The conferences and the different committees that we run. So the Tri-Cities National Park Committee, it's ran by all 4 mayors. We have DOE and National Park Service and many others that join us. That's one of the committees we run. Sports Council, Wine Tourism Council, Director of Sales, Tri-City River Shore Enhancement Council, where we work with all of our jurisdictions and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. You'll find all of that detail in there. Our various marketing endeavors, sales endeavors are in there, and a lot of operational information, including some of the work we do legislatively, because we spend a lot of time working with our legislators here in Olympia and then federally as well. what I wanted to wrap up with though, and this goes back to the travel writers, I mentioned on a good year, we have 20. We have been working on an event to bring an event called TBEX to our community for about 2 years. And we would have hosted it last year, but just the way we were riding the waves of that pandemic, it kept that from happening. But here about 2 weeks ago, we hosted this event. It is the largest gathering of content creators in North America. We brought about 300 travel writers into the Tri-Cities. They came in before the conference kicked off, and we had curated events. They went out throughout our community, and they were enjoying all the things that anyone might enjoy in the Tri-Cities. A lot of outdoor recreation, of course, a lot of wine, a lot of eats, but you name it, action adventure of any flavor was happening. The opening night, we had a reception for the VIPs, the speakers, and we had an international contingent there. We were out at Terra Blanca. It was pretty exceptional, kind of an introduction to the Tri-Cities for many of those folks. The full conference opening reception happened at the Reach. The city of Richland had sponsored that. So there was food and wine, and they could learn about the Tri-Cities history and all those things that make this region so unique. They started their conference on Wednesday. And so they had conference and education on Wednesday, Thursday. I was able to provide their opening address, which was tons of fun. That night, we were down at Columbia Gardens Artisan Wine Village outdoors. So it was wine and food trucks. And the skies opened up and the rains kicked up. Everybody got really wet. We pushed everybody into 3 tasting rooms. They packed in like sardines, but they had a great time because there was a lot of wine. We got great feedback on that. And then for the closing reception, we were at Peanuts Park in Pasco. We had writers that were planning to fly home Friday that discovered new experiences in the Tri-Cities and extended their stays. We kept some writers around on an additional, what we call familiarization tour, and we took them out for 3 days worth of all the things, again, that make the Tri-Cities so cool. And then we had other travel writers that went out to communities across Washington State. These were destinations that we partnered with to bring those writers into their communities. And it's kind of a rising tide floats all boats situation where we really light up Washington State. So I won't be able to name them all, I'm sure, but we have travel writers from Canada, Denmark, Mexico, Australia, Ireland, Thailand. I'm trying to think if Sweden was in there too. Spain was here. It was a pretty incredible showing. They were lighting up the socials while they were here, and then they'll go and write stories about their experiences for up to 2 years. What other communities have experienced when they brought TBEX in is they received 5 to 20 years their normal travel writer impact in one fell swoop. So it's pretty significant. It's going to be putting the Tri-Cities on the map for quite some time. So we're really excited about that outcome and everything that it means for the Tri-Cities. That's a high-level overview of what we did last year, a little bit of what we did this year, and of course, that crazy work plan that I showed you. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Michael. The events, the jobs, and of course, the tax revenue that those bring in, of course, all benefit West Richland and the other Tri-City communities. And I really appreciate the work you're doing and also your team, and thank you personally. And any council members have questions they wish to pose to Mr. Novakovic?
Wow, suck the air out of the room. Pretty proud there.
I think it's just you were so thorough, Michael. You know, you just dazzled everyone there. All right. Well, thank you once again for your time, and appreciate the report and look forward to continue working with you.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate the support and partnership greatly.
All right. Council, we'll now move to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the agenda. One is approve the minutes of the regular meeting on April 19, 2022. We have resolution 2622, setting the public hearing for utility easement vacation, VACA 004-2022. And we have resolution 27, increase the comp time accrual cap. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to comment on the consent agenda? And if so, please raise you. And then I kindly ask that you state your name and city of residence for the record and provide your comments. You can also press *9 to raise your hand via telephone. Stephanie, I do not see anyone. Do you?
I do not see anyone, no.
All right. Council, since there are no public comments, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, Council, thank you. We now have the first period of citizens' public comment for items that are not on tonight's agenda. Once again, if you'd like to provide comments, please raise your hand. When I call on you, the city clerk will unmute you, and you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments, please. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment? Stephanie, I don't see anyone. Do you?
I do not see anyone, no.
All right, we'll now move to ordinance tonight, resolution 28-22, amending the 2021/2022 salary schedule for building inspector. Our human resources manager, Selena Smathers, will present the staff report. Ms. Smathers, go ahead, please.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, council. So I'd like to start out by telling you that this is not a new position. This is not an additional FTE. We were actually prepared to hire a building inspector, what would be the equivalent of a building inspector 1. But as we started looking in the market today, some things have changed recently, and we realized that by going up a little bit in the wage, we could get somebody who has plan review experience and would probably save us at least 4 or 5 years in training. So we could get somebody that was not only ready to hit the ground running, but could probably catch us up on some of the building inspections that we're behind and actually help with plan review, which would help the building official. So what we are asking here is to change what was initially supposed to be a building inspector 1 to a building inspector 2 position. So it's a move on the salary schedule up a classification. And that is really the bulk of it.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Smathers. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to comment on this item? Once again, please raise your hand, and when I call on you, the city clerk will unmute you. And I kindly ask you to state your name and city of residence for the record. Once again, Stephanie, I don't see anyone. Do you?
I do not.
All right, council, may I have a motion for resolution 28-22?
I move to pass resolution 2822, amending the 2021-2022 salary schedule.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, any questions you wish to ask that were not answered already? See, Ms. Moran has her hand up. Councilmember Moran.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm curious, it sounded like you were saying that we were replacing building inspector 1 with building inspector 2. So is that what's actually happening, or are we getting also the building inspector 2? Because that looks like is that we're also getting the inspector 2 added.
In a way, it's not an additional FTE, but currently we have a building inspector 1. We have somebody in that role. So that is why that is not struck out. Because we do have somebody in that role. So that job is still existing because we have somebody in that role, but we are taking a position that we had that was supposed to be a 1 and creating a 2 out of it. So it is not an additional full-time employee, if that makes sense.
Okay. That does, yeah. I just,
Okay.
it had sounded like we were replacing completely building inspector 1 with 2, and that isn't what we're doing. We're for this
Correct,
particular
yes.
position, but we still have building inspector 1. So
That's right.
sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Bloom.
I think mine's been answered, but so we will end up with 2 building inspectors, correct?
Correct.
Well, if there are no other questions, council, may I? We have a motion already, excuse me. Council, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Council, we have no unfinished business. We also have no new business. So it brings us to the second public comment period. So I'll open the period right now. And if you wish to comment, once again, please raise your hand. When I call on you, the city clerk will unmute you. And then I ask that you please give your name, city of residence, and provide your comments. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment? Stephanie, do you see anyone? I do not.
I do not know.
All right, council, we will move on to the staff and council announcements. Staff members, if you have an announcement, please raise your hand. Chief Majetic, go right ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Brink. Ladies and gentlemen, council and the audience. I just wanted to let everybody know this will be my last council meeting as your chief of police for the city of West Richland. I've been in law enforcement for 34 years in the Tri-Cities, the last 8 in West Richland. And I want to thank council, the mayor who's not here, all the citizens of West Richland, and placing the faith and confidence in me to hold this position. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve the city of West Richland. And I'd like to think that I found the department, I'm leaving the department better than what I found it. I was given specific tasks by the mayor on what they expected for the police department. And I believe today, the West Richland Police Department is standing within the region and the state and the Northwest, has never been at a higher level. You have great men and women that work for this department, and I see nothing in the future except upward momentum. I am leaving you in great hands with now Captain Grego, future Chief Thomas Grego, and I anticipate continued success in making West Richland the best place to raise a family, the safest community, and to really keep up with the growth and the pace that we're experiencing now. And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your continued support of me, the police department, and I hope that continues, which I know it will. And again, thank you for the privilege to be in this position. That's all I had, Mr. Brink.
Well, thank you, Chief Majetic. I will not begin to try to speak on behalf of the mayor, but I will speak personally. I've enjoyed our friendship as well as our professional relationship, I think, and I look forward to continue working with you in other capacities as you enter into other endeavors after your retirement. But thank you very much for your service to the city, to our community, to Pasco before you came here, and to the Tri-Cities in general. Thank you very much. Is there any other staff member that would care to make a comment? All right, I'll turn to council. Council reports. Anyone from council? Mr. Bloom.
Well, I just want to give an update that we will be interviewing prospective candidates for the Ben Franklin Transit General Manager this Friday. And so hopefully we will narrow down the group and be coming forward with suggestions of who will be leading Ben Franklin Transit forward from there. There's some really good candidates came up.
Thank you, Councilmember Bloom. Councilmember Moran? You're still muted, Kate.
There we go. All right. Thank you. Yes, so thank you very much. And I would like to say thank you again, Chief Majetic, for all the time and effort that you've put into the West Richland community, to the police department, talking with the officers. I know you starting here and working with Richland Police Department has really been an even better department, a lot of focus on things like community policing. So thank you very much for that. And I want to say welcome, I guess, congratulations to Captain Grego, soon to be Chief Grego. So congratulations on that. In regards to things just going on in the community, the Benton Franklin Council of Governments meeting was canceled last month. So we are going to be having that this month. So currently, looks like what we mainly have is just a lot of celebrations that are happening. For those that celebrate Ramadan, it is closing out. So Eid Mubarak, happy festivities, the end of Ramadan to you. I would like to wish everyone that. We also have the Lao New Year celebration that's happening the 6th, 7th, and 8th that the last temple in Kennewick is having. Also with the Ramadan, there is the Eid festival and bazaar that's happening this weekend on the 8th from 4 to 7 p.m. So if you're looking for some sweet treats or to play some games, get some barbecue, things like that, that's the place to be. They always have a really great festival atmosphere over at the Islamic Center here in West Richland. And they're also doing COVID vaccine clinic and COVID at-home test free that they're giving out. To like to have those, please feel free to stop by, have some enjoyment of the festivities, get yourself a free at-home COVID test for the family. And there's also Cinco de Mayo happening this weekend, and something that I want to see is that there is a bully breed show happening this weekend, which wouldn't have been before they changed their legislation on that. So I'm happy for that. Saturday, comic book day. I'm a big nerd. And for that, there is the Community Leaders in Hanford virtual tour. I'm sure that most of the council members have received the email on that. But if you want to check it out, that is this Thursday from 9 to 11:30. This weekend also, I'm surprised that you didn't mention it, Mike. There is the Bike Expo. There's an Inland Empire Century bike going on that's starting in Columbia Park in Kennewick. Other than that, I'm looking forward to the calendar happening on the 10th. I imagine that is considered an open meeting, correct? So if anybody from the public wants to attend, is that something they could attend? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent. And then I guess other than that, I am going in for surgery. It's nothing too terrible, but on the 11th. So keep me in your thoughts. Hopefully it'll just be a couple weeks that I'll need to recuperate, but looking at getting to celebrating stuff outside again. So that's all I got. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Councilmember Moran. Councilmember Bloom, you have an additional comment?
I forgot. I wanted to thank staff for the cleanup day last week before last. This was the first cleanup day in all my years in West Richland. I actually hauled 3 loads. Two went to the chipper. So, by the time I was finished that, I was too tired to help. I'm sorry. But anyway, It did not seem as busy as it's been in the past. I'm not quite sure what the maybe we're getting cleaned. I know they were checking IDs at the gate. Maybe we're discouraging some exterior some other attempts, but I did appreciate it. And I just thought I would thank staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bloom. Councilmember Moran, one last comment.
Sorry, I forgot to mention thank you to the police department for your assistance with the adoption event that happened this weekend. I believe that they were helping out with at least of the dogs that were out there. So thank you for that. And I also wanted to mention that it is the start of the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So a lot going on. Thanks.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, my fellow council members. Just one thing I will mention. The AWC Annual Conference is taking place this year, June 21st to June 24th in Vancouver, Washington. Registration opened last week. So I just wanted to make that public service announcement for anyone that might be considering attending. No other comments for this evening, so I will adjourn the city council meeting at 6:56 p.m. Have a good evening, everyone.